All right, today we're going to dive into this really beautiful, simple, but super powerful idea. It comes from a recent book review, and it's called The Quiet Magic of the Care Loop.
So let's just start with this kind of weird question. How can something as simple as, say, a mango bar create a lasting memory? I know, it sounds a little strange, right? But stick with me, because that question gets right to the heart of this incredibly powerful and honestly often overlooked way we connect with each other.
And our guide for this whole thing is this short but super insightful book review. And what it uncovers is that the key, the magic ingredient, is a single action that we all do but maybe don't think about enough, and that is simply replying.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. The spark, building systems for joy.
So this whole idea kicks off with a really deliberate choice. It's about intentionally creating what the author calls systems for joy. And look, this isn't about just sitting back and waiting for happiness to show up at your door. Nope, it's about actively engineering it. You're building the conditions for it to happen. And what's so cool about this, what I really love, is just how normal these systems can be. We are not talking about some grand, complicated plan. We're talking about mango bars, samosas, and get this, even spreadsheets. It's just such a great reminder that joy can actually be organized, and it can be sparked by the most ordinary, everyday stuff. Okay, and this is where the magic really starts to happen. So after you put these simple systems into place, the review points out something amazing. The care, it doesn't just stay in one place. It actually starts to loop outward, you know? It touches more and more people, creating this incredible ripple effect. So, you're probably wondering, how does that ripple effect actually work? Well, that brings us right to our next section, the action, where we're going to break down the core concept here, the care loop. So what is a care loop? Well, think of it this way. It's not just a random act of kindness. It's an act of care that does something very specific. It sparks a reply, a reciprocal exchange. And it's in that back and forth, that little dance, that something totally new and lasting gets created, a shared memory.
Let's break it down. Step 1, an act of joy is created. You share that mango bar. Step 2, what the review calls, and I love this, fan letters start to arrive. That's the reply. That's the crucial, hey, I see you moment. Then step 3, from that simple exchange, new rituals start to ripple out. And finally, the big one, a shared memory is formed. And that's what ties people together.
But what keeps this whole thing going? What's the fuel in the tank? That's what we're talking about next. The engine, the power of replying. You know, this is a really big shift in how we think about this stuff. The old way of thinking about kindness, it's like a one-way street. You just deliver some joy, and that's it. But this care loop idea, it turned that into a two-way emotional conversation. It's not a monologue anymore. It's a dialogue. And this quote from the review just nails it. It says, it's not just about delivering joy, it's about replying. The real power, the energy, isn't just in the giving. It's in the reply. That's the thing that closes the loop and really gets it spinning. So what happens when we start doing this over and over? Well, something pretty profound starts to change. Which brings us to our next part, the transformation. And this is where listening becomes infrastructure. The first big thing that changes is storytelling. It stops being this one-way broadcast, you know, me just talking at you. Inside one of these care loops, telling a story becomes a team sport. It's collaborative. You're building the narrative together. And this is just such a deep idea, right? The act of listening, really, truly hearing that reply, it is not passive at all. It's an act of construction. You are actively building the infrastructure, the foundation for a stronger connection. It's like the steel beams that hold the whole relationship up. Okay, so what's the long-term payoff here? What happens when you build this kind of infrastructure? That brings us to our final section, the impact. And we're going to see how a huge thing like a legacy can be found in something as tiny as a sticker. See, over time, as these little loops of giving and replying happen again and again, they stop being just separate moments. They start to merge, they flow together, and they become something bigger. They become a kind of vessel, a container that holds all the shared memories of that connection. And this is where you really see the power of this idea. It shows you how even the tiniest, most everyday object can suddenly be filled with so much meaning, so much shared history. Something as small, as everyday, as a simple sticker can end up carrying a profound legacy. It's not just a sticker anymore, right? It's a physical piece of that shared memory, a symbol of all those tiny acts of care.
And so that really just leaves us with one last question to think about. For you,
What small thing in your life, what's your mango bar or your sticker, that's part of a care loop you're building right now? What's that one little thing in your world that one day will carry your legacy?